So I would never tell anyone what to do, because everyone has their own free will. And what I would say to people is, in the same way that you discern in life, or we need to start discerning better in life, we need to do that at death. Personally, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ask my consciousness to show me the way out. So I'm going to ignore any light, any false light, any beings, if I see like someone that looks like my mum or an angel or Jesus, I'm just going to ignore everything, and I'm going to ask my consciousness to just show me where I need to go. So you're asking yourself, and it will show you, just like when you remote view, and it was, like I said, it will show me the entity that was doing the sleep paralysis. I saw it straight away. That ability probably becomes easier at death. And so there's a couple of different things that I've heard. Personally, what I probably will do is either find a hole in the fabric of the matrix, or rip a hole in it myself. And I guess ripping a hole in the fabric of the matrix depends on the strength of your energy. But from what I hear, there's people escaping now, and there's holes in the fabric of the matrix. And also, the reason why I think that construct is breaking down for them is because the way they trap souls, they're going to change, because they've had this whole false white light thing. People are waking up to it now. And so what they're going to do eventually is they're going to use AI and technology to trap our consciousness. So I don't know if you've ever seen the TV series Black Mirror.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's really worth watching for an insight. It's a little bit depressing, but for an insight of what they want to bring in. So what they're going to do is, over the next, I don't know, however many decades, we're going to see advances in healing people with technology. And they're going to grow this in the consciousness of the planet. And probably they'll say, oh, well, you know, if you use this technology is now curing cancer in people. And they're going to tiptoe this forward. And it's going to get to the point where you might be like terminally ill with something, and they'll say to you, look, unfortunately, you've only got 4 months to live, but you don't have to die. And you'll be like, what do you mean I don't have to die? Well, what we're going to do is we're going to use consciousness transference. So what we're going to do is we're going to upload your consciousness into this quantum computer. And so it's going to exist there forever. And you can just take it out on a USB and you can plug it into a teddy bear or something, or a computer or something like that. And you can exist forever. You just won't have, into like a clone. And so you can still live, but you won't be your original blueprint if you. So that's how they're going to sell it. And of course, you know, what's the biggest fear people have on this planet? It's the fear of death. We've seen that over the last 2 or 3 years, how easily people are manipulated when they think they're going to die. So their gig to trap souls in the future is going to be to get people to buy into this consciousness transference. And get people to upload their consciousness to a quantum computer, where it's going to be very difficult to get out of that soul trap. You know, that one is not something that I would like to be stuck in. So again, if you watch the series Black Mirror, there's 2 or 3 episodes based on consciousness transference, and it's pretty grim. So I would definitely urge you to watch that series and your viewers. Yeah, I mean, essentially what you're talking about is all energetic hijacking. Again, you got to look at it 2 ways. You know, they're doing a lot to us, but they're doing a lot to us because they need to, because if we're left unchecked and in our full expanded state of consciousness, they're just not a match for us. And also there's like a half-truth in the New Age in terms of frequency, because with all this hijacking, entity attachments, overlays, implants, it does keep our frequency at a lower a level, which is easy for them to sort of interface with, if you see what I mean. Yeah. And of course, the chakras is the biggest one that, in terms of my work, people always want to talk about, because it's so integral within the New Age. You know, we have these wonderful rainbow-coloured lotus flowers that look so beautiful on the surface. And this is really where the synchronicities started for me when I found out about it. Because back in the day, you know, I'd worked with chakras. I was Reiki level 3. They call it Reiki Master. I hate that term. But, you know, I wasn't like big into the New Age, but I'd taken my Reiki 3, so I'd worked with chakras. I did not have a bias towards chakra removal at all. But the short version of the story goes is that I was under huge psychic attacks about 7 years ago. I put a video out that went viral, and it was basically a video that was really questioning like military, what are we doing in these countries? Why are we obeying orders from people that are, you know, corrupt and all the stuff that they're into? Why are we calling these people heroes when they go into these countries, bombing them, and like they've got no rights? Anyway, long story. But this, I went to bed that night, and then the next morning I woke up, and this video had gone viral, had like 40,000 views overnight. And my Facebook inbox must have had about 20 death threats, because it, unfortunately for me, it got into like military circles. So there was all these angry soldiers threatening to kill me, which in and of itself didn't bother me, because a long time ago I knew I'd always, you know, I'd give my life for the truth and my purpose. And also I was living in the middle of Cambodia, and I know a lot of these people are full of hot air anyway, so I wasn't scared. But after that, something weird really happened. I can only describe that I was walking around in like an energetic haze, in like a fog. I had extreme anxiety, which is very much a case of a heavier entity attachment as well, because they turn the volume up on it. And I was like, I don't feel right. And I couldn't put my finger on it. I was like, I tried all these things, detoxing and, you know, like different modalities to try and help myself. Nothing would clear it. I felt like I was walking around in mud. Going to the shop to buy milk was anxiety for me. I'm like, this is not right. What's going on? And I got so desperate. I put a call to action out for help. And, you know, someone approached me and she said, look, you know, I'm doing this thing. Maybe you might be interested. It's chakra removal. It's helped some people. And I'm like, chakra removal, what? And the same question that I get, you can't remove chakras. You need chakras. You know, both are untrue. And it was explained that, you know, the chakras are an implant, and basically entities use it to lock into our energy field and to feed on our energy, loop negative mind thoughts around our head every day for 24 hours. You're not good enough. No, you're not worthy. You can't do this. You know, that voice that you've got that isn't your voice, that's them. And so if you imagine that these entities have an arsenal of weapons, the chakras is like one of their main weapons. And so partly out of desperation, because I was in such a bad way and I tried everything, but also partly because at some level it resonated. At some level I thought, do you know what? It would just be like them to make the most beautiful things the most evil. And the image that came to my mind when she mentioned was in the Matrix, where everyone was plugged into those pods. That was really weird. It just flashed across my mind when I saw it, when she told me. And I was like, look, just do it. I'm like, I'm desperate. It partly resonates. Just see how it goes. So she did this session remotely, and to this day it still sends tingles down my spine, because it was when I woke up the next morning, it was like night and day. I mean, I just felt this cloud had lifted. I felt very light in my energy. That all this constant mind chatter, I wouldn't say it's gone totally, but it dialed right down. And I was just unbelievable. It was just like a massive aha moment for me. And I was like, wow, this is a thing. And so at that point, I was like, okay, well, I need to learn how to do this, and because it's cool, and I need to put it out there to people that actually maybe what we've been told about the chakras is not true. And so that's what I've been doing. And then, you know, just to shorten the story, once that implant was removed, my psychic abilities started to increase, and the more I started to practice and work with friends and family initially, I started to see different things, and I would see implants that look like the kind of implants that Elon Musk is bringing out now, like with the Neuralink and all that kind of stuff. And so when I would be removing that, people were experiencing bigger shifts. And so it snowballed. It snowballed into removing implants, and then I started to see and perceive entities. And it's like anything, you know, when you do it for a long time, you become competent at it. Just like any good electrician or a good plumber, the more you practice, the more you know where to look and how to find these things. And so that's what it's come to today. And part of that includes, you know, the soul retrieval. We at the point of death, a lot of us sign contracts to give up part of our soul energy. We make agreements with these entities because they're masquerading. So there's a lot of contractual things that need to be resolved. You know, parts of our soul stuck in different entity realms and stuff like that. So it's like a massive fantasy computer game inside of you, basically. So every day I learn something new. Every day I find something new. And you know, the most learning I've done is through working with clients, you know, because they really helped me to discover this stuff and understand or understand really how deceptive and manipulative these entities really are, and the levels of which that they go to in order to keep us where they need to keep us. going all the way back from what we started to talk about at the start, where a person, most people that are watching this, you know, are at a level where, you know, they're probably targeted to some degree or another. Everybody's targeted. It's just some people have it more than others, depending on your threat to the matrix, basically. So, and that all ties in with what Ola talks about in terms of the astrological signs being our barcodes, for them to know what sort of person that you are, and what sort of threat that you pose. So if in your timeline you're going to be someone that's really going to be a threat to them, they might start targeting you straight from birth. And, you know, there might be a lot of abuse that happens in your family in terms of to try and take you off your path. So a lot of us here, people that watch this information, would probably have had a lot of difficult childhoods. So yeah, it's a huge body of information that we can talk about probably for 2 days. Really.
So do you think that there's like a positive creator, or then if you had to guess?
Us, we're the positive ones. And this is the problem that I mean, I guess at some level there is some kind of creative element behind it all. And I think that we're a fractal of that. But people are, and especially right now, because things are it's probably been never harder to be on this planet than it is now with what's going on. So people's natural tendency is that they want to escape themselves. So they'll do that through drugs, alcohol, spiritual practices. That's an addiction for a lot of people. They want to check out, they want to go out there. And we have this other thing where we want someone to help us or to save us or to be the ones other than us to sort our problems out. And I guess part of what I'm here to say to people is, as hard as it is, no one's coming to save us. And that's a hard truth for people to swallow. Not Jesus, not, you know, angels, deceased family members. We have to do that ourselves. And we can struggle against that and go against that, and we can keep praying. I mean, where's praying got us? You know, if praying worked, we'd have world peace right now.
Yeah, really.
And I don't understand what it's just people want something to lean on. They want that cushion, that buffer that they can lean, because if for a lot of people to come to the conclusion that actually it's us that need to sort this, it's like, okay, now I need to kind of do something or take responsibility or but that's what we need to do. That's what's necessary. We've got to pick up our own baton and run with it, not pass it to someone else, allegorically speaking. And that's hard for people to accept. And I get that, because there's nobody more than me that would love to think that God or Jesus or an angel is going to come and help us, or aliens are going to fly down and end the cabal and great. Yeah, I would love that. It would be a lot easier. I wouldn't have to spend my Saturday morning doing stuff like this, although I'm loving speaking to you. But I'd much prefer to be out diving or, pursuing hobbies, looking at old abandoned buildings and houses and stuff. I'm into all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I'd much rather be doing that, learning to play a new instrument or something like that. But this is what's necessary. We have to do what we need to do. And the longer we resist that, the longer we push back against what we really need to do and start embodying that's what I call sovereignty, that no, I'm actually a human. And I think we've forgotten, or it's been lost, how incredible humans are. And I see how incredible humans are with our ability to overcome challenges and to create. And you look at art, what we can create in terms of art, music, comedy. Like we have all these abilities, psychic abilities, telepathy, remote viewing. I mean, we're incredible beings. And a lot of what I'm trying to get across to people is to remind them of that. And you don't need all these false beings that are, it's going to give you a false high. You might feel good for a day. Praying might make you feel good in that moment. But is it actually going to get to the root cause of the problem and change the dynamics of what is going on in your own life and on a collective level? So a big part of the solution is coming full circle and realizing that we had the power all along. Yeah, so basically, again, it was a synchronicities. I've known for a long time that we're dying way too young. I think the body's self-healing. I think given the right conditions, we can probably live and live and live. God knows how long, 200, 500 years, who knows? Because if you allow your body to heal and give it the right things, it does it naturally. When you cut the finger, if you just leave it, it heals up, right? It's incredible. So the whole idea that we're living longer and all this stuff, it's BS. You know, we're not living longer. We're dying younger, and we're getting sick longer as well. And so part of the things that I'm into is looking at how we can, you know, reverse age and extend age and everything like that. And beginning of this year, I was like, I was looking at stem cell therapy, and that's quite expensive. And as synchronicity would have it, I met with one of my Dutch friends here in Mexico. We went for a coffee, and we met up opposite a stem cell therapy place. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And I said, what do you think about stem cell therapy? And he's like, funny you should say that. He's like, have you heard of the patches? And I'm like, no, what do you mean patches? And he got out the LifeWave glutathione patches and X39. And he's like, you just put one on an acupuncture point, and the X39, what they do is they use the body's light energy, photon therapy, and turn it back in on itself, which activates a chemical in the body called copper peptides, which create new stem cells. And I'm like, wow, that seems amazing. He's like, yeah. And so I started using them because I don't promote anything unless I use it myself. And also the other ones he recommended with the glutathione. Now the glutathione is important because the amount of glutathione that you have in your body is in direct relation to how quickly you age and how quickly you recover from disease.
That has to do with the telomeres, right? The telomeres.
Yeah. One glutathione patch increases your glutathione levels by over 300% in 24 hours. And I put this glutathione patch in this cafe, and I started to feel nauseous. And I'm like, oh, I'm feeling a bit nauseous from that. It's like, yeah, because it's getting the stuff out, you're detoxing. And now when I put it on, I don't feel nauseous. But the initial, you know, boost of that glutathione was clearing stuff out immediately. But I've got a number of examples. I've got a lady with fibromyalgia. She was bedridden, and then like a week on the X39, she's up and walking. And I've got a lot of different testimonials from people that are using them. So yeah, they're all there on my YouTube channel. Yeah, so if you go to my YouTube channel, there's a number of videos about LifeWave products, and then there's the link where you can buy them. They've got all kinds of different patches. I mean, I love the sleep ones. This Silent Night. You put a patch on the behind your ear, and it releases melatonin in your brain, so you dream in like HD. So you have a really deep sleep. Actually, I use two patches when I go to bed. I use the Silent Night, and I use the Iron patch. And what the iron patch does, it relaxes the nervous system. So you go to bed, you relax your nervous system, and then the Silent Night kicks in with the melatonin, and you just go into such a deep, deep sleep. And then so you wake up and you feel really refreshed. So all the patches are amazing, but the main two that I recommend are the X39 and the glutathione.
Anything else you want to promote?
Yeah, so my YouTube channel is just my name, Tony Sayers. My website is transcendingtimes.org. That's got my books and my sessions and other things in relation to what I do. Yeah, I'm on Telegram as well. I'm banned on Facebook, banned on Twitter. So yeah, they're probably the best places to find. I'm on BitChute and Odyssey as well. At one point I was on 2 strikes.
Me
And
too.
that was a very nervous time. So yeah, I mean, we don't know how long we're going to be on for. That's why I did the big backup channels on BitChute and Odyssey as well. But yeah, at the moment, fingers crossed, it's okay. It's up and running. So. Yeah. So I'm from the UK, and I've been living now in Mexico for 3 years. And of course, it's a very interesting country. There's a lot of ruins, not just here in Mexico, but all these ruins are all through Central America and Guatemala and, you know, Honduras and all these places. So these civilizations really did stretch all the way up the Central American passage, if you like. And it's really fascinating seeing first of all, how they built these things. I mean, you look at the construction. I was just saying to you off air, I went to visit one in a place called Cholula the other day, and you just wonder how they pieced these things together, you know, the brickwork and everything like that. So they definitely must have had something going on, some kind of technology that they were using. You know, I got told the story that they were, you know, using carts and all of this stuff. And like I said to you off air, you never know what to believe. How much of it, you know, is just sort of government propaganda. But what was interesting was the stories of, you know, when the Spanish came over, they wiped out all of these beliefs and all of their gods, and they introduced Catholicism. And they actually, the interesting thing about the ruins that I went to the other day, the Spanish actually built a church on top of a pyramid. So they really were making a statement in terms of, look, this is the new religion here now. And really, it seems very symbolic of, you know, just more dictatorship and more sort of, I don't know, stamping over people's rights and the way they want to live their lives. So it was really apparent to me that this is just another extension of what we're seeing going on today. Now, that's not to say that these ancient civilizations weren't brutal. I mean, you had human sacrifice and all of this stuff going on with that as well. So, but yeah, it's very interesting. But in terms of aliens, my opinion on aliens is that this whole disclosure thing is a psyop. I don't believe in physical aliens. I definitely believe in interdimensionals. And that is what people, I think, are referring to as aliens. And a lot of these interdimensionals are just negative entities, and they will masquerade as aliens, greys, or, you know, that's the form that they take. But I think the whole idea of, you know, there's going to be a big disclosure by the government and aliens are going to land is kind of a big psyop, which maybe is tied into Project Bluebeam, which I'm sure a lot of your viewers will know about, in terms of like a fake alien invasion using holographic technology. I do believe that is one of the cards that they have up their sleeves that they want to play. And I think that all just ties into that. I think they need to get people to believe that there are sort of these outside visitors, when in actual fact, these quote unquote visitors are literally just coming in and out of dimensions. And I think when we see a lot of craft, this is just what I believe to be true. And based on my knowledge, when we're seeing craft, I think a lot of that is probably black ops tech in a physical form, but also interdimensional technology coming in and out of dimension. So it's not sort of coming into the Earth's atmosphere from out of space. It's actually already in, and it's just coming through the dimensions and becoming sort of piercing the veil, so we can sometimes see the technology. So I think it's a mixture of those things. But yeah, the whole, you know, aliens coming down here and building things, and I just don't. It doesn't resonate for me.
I agree with you, and I'm really open-minded to it because I start getting into that kind of stuff.
Well, you're absolutely right. And basically, we do have the ability to see in those dimensions through remote viewing. And we all of us humans have psychic abilities. It's just the problem is that we have forgotten that we have them. We're not taught them from school. And when you get older, it's very taboo to talk about things like clear visual abilities, clear audio abilities, remote viewing. So we end up living our lives really not tapping into to our potentials in that respect. Same goes probably for things like telepathy, probably teleportation. There's probably ways that we can do that. So I believe humans to be very untapped potential wise, and that is by design. And the thing is, when the line of work that I'm into at the moment, which is to do with implant and entity removal and clearing metaphysical interference, that didn't come overnight to me. That started about 6 years ago with chakra removal, which is another story which we can get into if you want in a little while. But just to sort of pad out this point that I'm trying to make is that when you practice remote viewing and you do it daily, it becomes like a muscle that becomes stronger. Unless you if you don't use it, you lose it. And I always liken it to, if I just use my right arm and I don't use my left arm, I'm not going to be able to pick up much with my left arm. It's going to get weak. And that's the same thing with psychic abilities. So we can see in those dimensions, we can see implants, entities, and things like that. It's just we don't practice enough. It's something that we need to learn to do. Just the same as if you're going to learn another language. You know, I'm learning Spanish. It's a constant thing that I need to do to improve my Spanish. Same applies for psychic abilities. And you know, just as an example, the other day, I don't know if you've ever had sleep paralysis. It's not very pleasant. Yeah. Well, if you ever get sleep paralysis, it's like a double-edged sword, because on the on the first side, it's not very pleasant. I mean, you're there, you feel like your mouth's sewn up, you can't move, so it's not a very pleasurable experience. But when you flip it, you ask yourself, why am I being targeted in my sleep? Why am I getting sleep paralysis? It's because there's something about you that is a threat to the matrix. So they hijack your energy, maybe implant you, or just make you, just so when you wake, just so you don't have a good night's sleep and you wake up feeling like crap, so you don't do what you were going to do in that day. Maybe it's to waste your time. So when people are targeted, and a lot of us in this movement are very targeted energetically, it is because, and they can see our future timelines, that in our timeline there is some kind of threat to the matrix with allowing us to just carry on what we're doing unchecked. So if you look at your story, I mean, what are you doing? You are creating content. You're putting out very regular podcasts to open people's minds, to get them to think differently, not get them to think differently, but to give them different information that is hidden, that perhaps might expand their consciousness and move them a run up the ladder. So from their point of view, you're a threat. So I can see why they would have targeted you with sleep paralysis and things like that. So, but the point I want to make is that the other night when I woke up eventually from this sleep paralysis, and they're always trying it on with me, and actually I get very worried if they don't target me, because I'm like, is there something I'm doing wrong? So it's kind of a normal thing for me. But the other night after I woke from the sleep paralysis, I literally asked my subconscious to show me what had done this thing to me in the night. And I saw a 5-headed snake. It was literally an entity with a snake with 5 heads. And I have ways of clearing it. So I just cleared the energy and just cleared myself up from it. But that comes with practice. That comes with, and you can feel the shift when this stuff gets removed. So that comes with practice. And that's something that everyone could do. It's just, like I say, the difference between perhaps you and I've spent 6 years learning how to do it and training and strengthening that muscle. But eventually where my work is going to go in the next 6 months to a year is I'm going to be putting something together to help people to start working with their own energy, start practicing these things, and really encouraging people to go here where we've been taught that it's taboo, or and really start strengthening those spiritual and psychic muscles that have laid dormant within us.
What did you say?
So again, with this, it's a loaded question, and you can look at it 2 ways. You can look at it as like, oh my God, all these things are attacking us, we're screwed. Or you can look at it, why is all this stuff going on to try and hijack us? I mean, you just look at what they're doing just on the 3D level, in terms of poisoning the water, the air, the food, like just on the 3D physical level. Before you even get into the 4th dimension, you've got that going on, like hijacking our physical body. But then when you go into like the astral realm or the 4th dimension, which is basically a big trap, people go there, they take ayahuasca, they do all these plant medicines and DMT, and they think that they're seeing what really is true and everything like that. No, they're just seeing the 4th dimension, which is just literally a layer of this matrix. We go way beyond this matrix as humans. And so within the 4th dimension, you have not just one entity, it is teeming with entities. Different types of entities: serpent entities, spider entities, octopus entities, demiurge, satanic, demonic entities, false white light beings. You have these angels that are masquerading as the light, and they're actually entities. You have the alien entities, so-called friendly Pleiadians and Arcturians and all this, and they're literally just all masquerading. They're just false white light beings. They're entities trying to hijack our energy and run these different agendas, and they all have different agendas. So you have like demonic, reptilian agenda, like most people have heard of. But then I think at the basis of that is also an AI agenda. AI is very much, I believe, to be possibly the head of the snake in all of this. And you have like a false god agenda, like the god that everyone prays to. I've made videos about this on my YouTube channel. The false god that people are giving their prayer energy to. What's pray? When you pray, you're food for something. So you have this god, this narcissistic god that requires everyone to get up at 4 a.m. and bow down and then show up at a place of worship. And, if you're God, why do you need someone to worship you? It doesn't make logical sense. It's narcissistic. So you've got this false god that's running an agenda and feeding off people's energy. Then you've got AI that are trying to exist through human bodies. In the end, that's their end game. Then you've got the reptilian, the reptilian agenda, that they have their own agenda as well. So you have all these different entities that are trying to hijack human beings and trying to direct the course of where we go. And the reason that they're doing that, this is the flip side of it, is that we are incredibly powerful beings. We are incredibly, incredibly powerful. We don't even realize 10% of what we're capable of. We are massive energy generators. And if we even slightly woke up to the truth about ourselves, then it would be game over for all of them. And so they know that about us, and they know that if we do discover, who and what we truly are, which I strongly feel is we have a fractal of the creator working through each and every one of us. We've been told that God's out there. I very much believe it's within. And I always like to mention the fact that, when you look into someone's eyes, it's almost like you see like these two mini universes, that the eyes look the same as like a universe. And I think that's very telling. And as with all the things that I've mentioned before, all the untapped psychic abilities, spiritual gifts that we have, and we're so disconnected from them. They've disconnected us in so many ways from, I'm here at the moment, you're there, we're living in these blocks with Wi-Fi around us, very unnatural ways of living. Probably we're probably supposed to be out in nature where these all these gifts are able to flourish. We're bogged down with all these electromagnetic frequencies, which really lowers the whole frequencies, which allows entities to come in, easier for them to create portals. So they're trying to hijack the energy of the planet, and constantly trying to hijack our energy in order to feed. It's like a cattle farm here. So as I say, you can look at it two ways. Oh my God, all these things want to do this to us. But the core message of my work is really to take people full circle and back to why are they doing it? Well, it's because I'm incredibly powerful being. And the more of us that wake up to that truth and start embodying it and stop giving our power away to these posers in government and authority, and the idea that someone, because they're born into another family, has the right to tell you what to do and how to live your life and what to stick in your arm. This is crazy. This is like, we're very infantile in the way we think. We've been very brainwashed, obviously, and that kind of stuff. But really, they're terrible.
I would say the program itself being run.
100%, absolutely 100%. One of my purposes right now is to expose the New Age movement, and the New Age movement was set up by a lady called Helena Blavatsky, who was actually a Luciferian. And basically, the basis of it is they knew that people were starting to lose faith with religion. Religion was starting to decline, although I still see a huge amount of people that want to pray and think that that's going to solve everything. So they needed to create something else, because religion has been such a great tool for controlling the masses, causing divide, giving people it hijacks our sovereignty, because we're giving out, we're thinking something out there is more special, than or powerful than we are. We don't, it takes us away from our own creative abilities, our own abilities to resolve situations, our own abilities to make ways around things, and to become like gods in and of ourselves, really. And so they needed something new. And so back then, this lady designed this whole thing that we see now as the New Age. This, what I call basically fake spirituality. I mean, there's so many teachings in that movement which appear on the surface very innocent and love and light, but actually when you look at who benefits, it doesn't make good reading for humans. So, for example, the whole idea that we should just accept, the idea, just accept whatever happens. Well, who does that benefit? If we just accept everything, surely that benefits evil, especially what we're seeing going on now. Should we just accept the things that are going on in this planet? No, we shouldn't. Just keep your vibration high, and that's all you need to do. Well, hang on a minute. That's not going to cut it either, because there's times when you have to face the darkness to work through it. I always liken it to, if you break your leg, are you just going to think happy thoughts and just hope that it heals? No, you're going to take action. Maybe you need to go and get it put in a plaster or something, and then it heals. There's so much of it. Never get angry. That's one that really gets me. The idea that we should never get angry about anything. I mean, well, right, there is such a thing as righteous anger, and anger can actually be a great tool of driving us to take action and make great change in the world. So, I mean, dwelling in anger obviously is not beneficial, being stuck in it 24/7, but the actual initial emotion of anger is there for a reason. Otherwise we wouldn't feel it. And the other big one that they love is don't judge, don't judge anything. God forbid judging anything. Well, how do you discern information if you don't make a judgment on it? Judgment is part of the discerning process. And so in order to discern, which is really a lost gift these days, most people don't discern, they just go with whatever feels good. So how are we to discern something, a piece of information, a person, if we don't make a judgment? So they want you to just accept, roll over, don't do anything, don't take any action, just keep in a high vibration. And the big one, obviously, at the moment is this whole idea of ascending to the new earth. This idea that if you keep your vibration high enough and you just think unicorns and rainbows, that you're just going to wake up in the morning and there's not going to be all this government control and overreach and all the things that they're sticking in people's arms. You're going to be living in this kind of like utopia just by thinking happy thoughts, is unbelievable. And so many people are falling for it. Why are they falling for it? Because it feels good, because they don't have to do anything. Excuse me, I'm just going to take some water. They don't have to take any action. They can just feel like they're doing something, but actually not. Well, if I just sit here and keep my vibration high, then I'm somehow anchoring the light for the new earth. There is no new earth in that respect. There can be a new reality created, but it's going to take us doing hard work, resisting, speaking truths, speaking uncomfortable truths, changing the way we live, changing our behavior that's led us to our enslavement, giving up the beliefs in authority. It's going to be hard work. It's going to take responsibility. That is how we're going to change the dynamics going on in this planet. But the New Age movement has co-opted that, and they just say, you just think love and light, you just accept, don't judge anything, even if it's bad, and we'll all ascend, and we'll be living in this New Age utopia and drinking rainbow juice. and it actually makes me angry, these New Agers, because what they're doing is very damaging to people. But it's shrouded in all this love and light. So you wouldn't know it's damaging unless someone like myself comes along that actually really analyzes all the key points and shows where all the cul-de-sacs and deceptions are, because it all feels and looks so fluffy and rosy, you just wouldn't even know it. But I mean, for the last 7 years now, working on people and clearing entities and implants and overlays and things like that, time and time again, I've had people come to me where they've spent thousands of dollars on, working with Archangel Michael, Reiki courses, light language, all this New Age stuff. They're no further forward. In fact, they're quite often, way behind. They're feeling drained. A lot of bad stuff's happened in their life. Yeah, this is over and over again. And so it got to the point where on my channel, I thought, well, it would be really good if I had some people actually, because it's all right for me to say this is damaging people, but if you've actually got someone that's been through it, then it's a powerful testimonial. So what I'm starting to do now on the channel is to get some people on that have been through some of the New Age stuff. And I mean, I've had so countless, a guy, I worked with him the other day, a yoga teacher of 25 years, and he was doing all this stuff, and he was like, I feel like crap. And, so I've had people that have worked with, going back to like the false white light beings, and this can be really triggering for people, but stay with me on this, is that some of these false white light beings will masquerade not only as angels and friendly aliens, but also loved ones. And I had a guy who, his father passed, and he thought he was channeling his dad, and so he was getting all this information, following this information. He ended up losing his house, he ended up losing his wife, financial ruin, he ended up in a car crash which nearly killed him. And then when he joined the dots, he realized, he's like, why has my life just gone so downhill so rapidly? And he realized it was because he was following the information of what he thought was his deceased father. And a great example of this the other day, there's a channel, there's this channel on YouTube. What's it called? Most Haunted or something like that. I forget the name. But this guy's got a poltergeist in his house, and this poltergeist speaks through the what's the Amazon lady?
I can't think of it.
Yeah, but basically, what's been happening is this guy. It got so bad that he's been trying to get help, and he's got this guy in this priest, and this entity doesn't like it. And he's trying all these different things. And now the entity's changing his plans, right? So now when he's coming through, he's saying, I'm your father, Jay. Stop the priest. Stop this. Stop what you're doing. And so I saw firsthand how they work. This poltergeist wasn't getting what he wanted. So then he changed plans, switched plans, and came through as he's quote unquote his dad. And this is how conniving and deceptive and evil these things are. And it's really, really difficult for people who have come from the New Age and they stumble across my work, where not only am I saying, look, don't connect with angels, they're entities, I'm also saying like God's fake. And I'm also saying that when deceased ones are coming through, chances are they're probably for people and really hard for them to accept, which I understand. I really do get that. But if we're to get out of this matrix, we have to understand the depths and the levels to which our enslavers go to be able to work our way around that. And that all, obviously, it ties in with the false white light of death, where you die, you're shown the tunnel, and then you're met at the tunnel by anything that you admired in your physical life. So maybe you're into Archangel Michael. So when you die, Archangel Michael turns up. Maybe you were really close to your grandmother turns up. Jesus, Buddha, whatever your thing was, they will craft it to your design. Okay. And so we're met by a false white light being, and then the human, because they live in ignorance, because ignorance doesn't die when we die. If you don't seek knowledge in your physical life, doesn't mean that when you die, you're just going to have all the knowledge. So people are getting hooked back in. They go for the life review where they're guilt tripped. Archangel Michael might say to you that, you're a good person, but in 1999, you hurt this person. So, unfortunately, if you want to go to hell, you need to come back and resolve your karma. And so you go, okay, then, because you don't know any better. And then you're back down to be used as a battery and as a slave. And most of us here have probably had thousands of past lives. Now, I'm part of what I'm really big on is inner work. And I'm always working on myself. And I have sessions with a lady in Canada. And I've got through, I wouldn't say, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm healed, but I've got through a fair chunk of this life's trauma, let's say. So the other day I was in a session with her, and I went back into like a regression, and I saw this young boy, and he had like black face, like a soot on his face. And then he had like a chimney sweep, right? And then I realized I was like somewhere in like the 1800s in London or something. And I could even look out the window and I saw the dirt track. And then anyway, I saw this man that was in the same room with him. And then I saw that he had like a demon in his face. Well, the story was that this little boy, his mother had died, and he was like orphaned. So there was no one to take him on other than this man who turned out to be evil. And he was making him work a lot and go up all the chimneys, doing the chimney sweeping. And he was also like physically abusing him and all of this stuff. So I had to go in and help this little boy and change the holographic imprint there. I've also had stuff around wars, like the Second World War and like what happened there. I mean, a lot of people probably had past life and trauma from that as well. So yeah, I mean, we're being recycled round and round and round we go, like a merry-go-round. And so yeah, it's normal to feel like you've had other lives here. I've gone into sessions with people where they specifically remember it in the birth canal not wanting to come out. I've had people tell me, I remember being in the but not wanting to come out. So we know, I think on a subconscious level, what kind of place this is. And yeah, for sure, I think many of us have had multiple lives, and a lot of us are carrying through the trauma of those lives. It all can be healed and changed. It's just changing the energy and changing the holographic imprint. But, obviously that takes time and effort, and it's not the quick fix that the New Age want to give you, where you can just say 100 self-affirmations in 10 minutes and you're suddenly healed, right? That's the New Age version of healing, which is so dangerous, which is why really there's no healing that goes on in the New Age. And of course, people are hooking in on false white light energy, which is a frequency that is like a false high. It makes you feel good for a day or so. This is why when you have like a Reiki session or someone's doing light language, you might get like a false high. I don't know if, if you've ever taken ecstasy or something like that back in the day. I tried it once when I was young. There's that like high, and then there's a crash the next day. Yeah. That's what I liken false white light energy to. It's like a distorted energy grid, because they have to give you some sugar. Because if they don't give you some sugar, you won't come back. So you'll be like, wow, this feels great, and then you'll crash, but you won't relate it to the false white light energy. Yeah, it's hooking you into a false white light energy grid, which is what Reiki is. So this is why I tell people don't do Reiki. You can lay hands and heal, but just use your own intention, use your own energy. You don't need to hook into something else outside and, connect with all these different signs. Again, what that's doing is taking it away from your innate power to, work with your own energy. And if you do that, you should still feel, depending on how energy sensitive you are, you should still feel sensations and shifts and things like that. But you won't have the crash that comes after, maybe, that you get with the Reiki.